Let's break down some of the myths regarding suicide.
I think so many people believe, oh, we can't talk about it because now we're creating the idea, when it is the opposite. They teach, and they even say, like, if someone is contemplating suicide, we do ask straight up, do you have a plan?
Felt like I really could relate to what you were saying, because I can see patterns of going through really hard things and breaking through and coming out on the other side.
That's exactly where we are when we're talking about suicide. This is so painful, I think I'm going to break.
Sometimes things don't happen for a reason, but whatever happens, we can make it work out for our good.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
I'm Seth, and this is The Forever Young Show. The most powerful force in this world is a woman who knows who she is, why she is here, and what she wants to accomplish.
And that's where self-care comes in. As a woman, it is my opportunity and my responsibility to take care of me.
Self-care for your mind.
Self-care for your body.
Self-care for your money.
Our mission is to serve women as they fulfill their irreplaceable roles in families, society, business, the fabric of humanity.
So let's get this show on the road.
So Megan, what are you most passionate about right now, and what are you doing about it?
There's a lot of things I'm passionate about. It's hard for me to do things I'm not passionate about. So I love people. People fascinate me. I'm enamored by them, their stories. And I love the body and the mind and what it's capable of. It will never cease to amaze me. I graduated in exercise science and minored in dance. And I will always keep playing and stretching and pushing myself to be a big kid and keep discovering new limits, because why not? It's fun. And when it comes to people kind of understanding what makes them tick, what works, what doesn't, what helps, I love helping others to see possibilities when I thought that there was none. And to help shed light on things that people never saw before, and to help make their life just a little bit better. And so I am here today teaching all the things that I am because of amazing people that I have met and have extracted amazing qualities from, and have learned, whether it be physical, mental, it's all because of these amazing people I've met. And I am so thankful for every opportunity I can to share these little gold nuggets that I've collected over the years. Very passionate about it. And God, love him so much. Very passionate. Very, very.
I was going to say, freaking love Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little mantra that we have from one of our past guests, Ariane. So
she was wearing a shirt that
so much.
on the pocket says "freaking love Jesus," and she sells them now. And anyways,
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah, so are we.
So great.
Big fans. Couldn't be who we are today without him.
Amen. Yeah.
Or tomorrow.
100%. Yes. 100%. Yes.
So what do you do? Obviously you do podcasts. Do you go around doing motivational speaking, or
yes.
how are you using all of your knowledge and experience today to help others?
So I do a lot of youth groups, talking about, mindset and emotional resilience, and in suicide prevention. And I've also, just last year, I had the opportunity to go speak to the National Guard at the headquarters. And that experience was amazing, because it's very intimidating when you come into a room with all of these, men in uniform, and it seems very serious and stiff and professional, mechanical,
Yes.
Military, yeah.
Yes. Very military-ish.
Yeah.
And so I remember when I first walked in, I just felt so inadequate, because not professional. I'm just real. I'm not here to impress anybody. And I remember after I started to speak, because it's easy for me to speak because I'm trying to shed light on hope and on God and on possibilities instead of on me. So it makes it a lot easier to stand up in front of intimidating, audiences like that. And by the end, the vulnerability and the love and the stories and the transparency and support that was in that room was amazing. I am just from start to end was such a gift to see and behold these men and women who do so much for our country, for us, and sometimes feel like they don't have the support that they need to come out and say, wow, I finally feel like I have some resources and I finally feel like there's hope and a process to go through. And I have never felt so fulfilled and humble and grateful for moments like that. And same with the youth groups I go and speak to, and the women when it comes to talking about, there's so much more for each and every one of us, and to break those limiting beliefs and to rise and not allow ourselves to be buried, but instead to be planted. So passionate about it and love it, and so grateful for these opportunities. And more importantly, from my experiences, I really hope to help people see the things that I couldn't, so that they have eyes to see things that I missed, things that I messed up on, and also help them to be able to, uplift others and show up when before they maybe wouldn't have understood or recognized beforehand, So yeah, I love it. I'm really grateful.
Well, I don't have we've got all cameras going on here. We've got multiple angles. So I can't pull out and chat GPT. What is the suicide rate, or what are the suicide contributing factors for men and women in the military? And those who come on tour. But yeah, you talk about maybe a population, a demographic that by sheer definition of the job, right?
Yeah.
Like very, very, very masculine, right? Whether you're a woman or a man in the military, there's a lot of masculinity or masculine focused jobs, right?
Yeah.
And I would say, just the entire, we have family in the military, just the entire psyche that goes into military training.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you, where do you find that outlet for, to, and again, this is a show for women, so I don't know I'm bringing this up, but I think women will appreciate this. I had a conversation with you about this. I saw something recently, and I think it was, some famous actor or something. Man, very manly man, right? Western kind of a man. This is my kind of
cowboy.
Yeah, exactly. Right?
Yes, mentality. Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And it's like, man don't need no therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't need nobody listening to him. He just need the people that he's serving to know. How did it go? He just needs the people that he's serving, the burdens he's carrying. They just need to know that he's carrying the burden, and that's enough for him. And I'm thinking here, like, I got my cowboy hat on, I got my boots on, and I totally disagree.
100%.
Right? Like
yeah.
That, and maybe that, if that works for you, great, right? A little cowboy logic, like, good on you, but I don't think that really cuts it in the real world. And you and I had this conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and even today, especially today, I mean, the majority of suicide is happening to our middle-aged men. And you think about, especially if this is a podcast for women, the spouse of, someone who's troubled, especially for men, because they don't have a safe place at work. because that may affect how others may think like, well, am I going to be able to depend on them? They're like having this crisis and they're struggling. And so,
Mm.
and so they feel like, oh, I can't open up at work to, my trusted colleagues. And then I can't really talk about it with my spouse because I don't want her to feel scared or worried or like she's already stressed with kids. And so I don't want to put that on her. So I need to man up and figure this out and it's going to be fine. So I'll just, tomorrow will be better. Hopefully. Oh no, we'll just see. And I think that's what makes it hard in today's world is that there's really not a safe place for men to go. And I think teaching, especially us women, how to show up for our spouse and show up for our kids and make sure that we are a safe space
Mhm.
and how to have these hard conversations and allow them to happen with curiosity and observation instead of fear and anxiety and assumption of what will be, I think are probably some of the biggest things we can do for our society because now more than ever, the numbers are so high. And just in the last month, I've had a handful of friends reach out and say, I don't know what to do. Like he is struggling. I'm scared. I'm scared to leave him alone. Like, what's the protocol? And there's just a lot of pressure on men today. And how do we create that safe space? And so even though it is for women, I do feel like this is very applicable in ways that we can help create a safe space for men and how we can help ourselves in these hard situations, whether it's our spouse or us. There are so many incredible things that we can do for ourselves and remind ourselves what to do.
Let's break down some of the myths regarding suicide. It is such it feels, I think, for many a taboo subject,
Mhm.
right? Because as soon I think there is a myth, and I believe there's a myth. I'd love to get your opinion, Megan, your experience. There is a myth that because we talk about suicide,
Mm.
now we're going to increase the ideation, right? The thinking about it. Like how many of us haven't at one point thought about how easy it would be just not to be here,
Mhm.
right? Or like how many of us have thought in our lives at any point, I just wish I could, not be here. I wish I could just end my life, right?
Yeah. I
So
wish I was done. Yeah.
Putting it on the table, I know as we've gone to some education, primarily focused on youth suicide prevention, but I think applicable to all of us is, listen, number one, not talking about it does not protect you in any way from experiencing it. And in fact, it's probably quite the opposite.
Mhm. It isolates.
Right. Absolutely. You're 100% correct on that. And I think what's hard about it is it's uncomfortable. It's like sex. Like a lot of time people are very like, we don't talk about that because it's uncomfortable. So
Mhm.
because we can't handle it, because we can't handle the discomfort of that. And the kid's like, we're uncomfortable. We're supposed to have these feelings around this subject. Oh, okay. And so we like create emotions that we plant into our kids about how they should feel around certain things. And the same thing comes to suicide when it comes to depression. And when we're talking about, okay, what leads to suicide? Have you ever had these thoughts? And make them more of, a matter of fact. It is as we talk about it and we can be curious about it and we can have really hard moments in it. But it's not something that we don't talk about. It's something we can say, whew, yeah, sometimes this can feel a little uncomfortable. That's okay.
Mhm.
That means we keep talking it and working through it. We don't avoid it. But yes, I think so many people believe, oh, we can't talk about it because now we're creating the idea. And that's what we don't want when it is the opposite. They teach, and they even say, like, if someone is contemplating suicide, we do ask straight up, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan for suicide? What does that look like? And the more we can have these conversations as a matter of fact, and wow, validating them, this is so hard. Wow, I can't imagine how hard things must be for you to feel that. Tell me more. What's going on? What's up? And creating that safe space where it's like, thank you for letting me be able to talk and extract and get all of this out and bring it to light so that it can, not be so heavy. And you think about in major religions, like we say, and we go and talk about like what we sinned, and it's not for them to judge us. It's for us to feel better. It's for us to lighten our load when we confess. We bring light to these dark places that are deep and hidden. And when we can dig and bring it up to light, it's just that relief. It really helps to reduce the weight. And now it becomes bearable. Now it becomes digestible to the point you can break it down. So I really like that you brought that up, because it is a misconception when it comes to, do we talk about it? Do we not? So yes, we do talk about it.
Well, it'll change your life when you have that conversation with someone,
Yeah.
and they affirm that, yeah, I am contemplating suicide.
Yeah.
Right? Like your whole world, your whole psyche, your whole outlook changes on a dime, and you see the world differently, because life is life is strong and beautiful and powerful. Life is also really delicate. It is on a moment, right? One moment you could be here, and another moment you couldn't. And I know, having been, in that situation, myself, it's like, wow, glad that we had more than just glad we had this conversation, but wow, what a godsend that we were able to have this conversation. Because when you put light on something, right, you take that thought, that hidden, buried thought most of the time, right? And you start shedding light on it. And when you shed light on it, you bring it into the forefront, and you lose fear, you lose ignorance, you lose shame, hopefully, right? And then we can really start dealing with situation.
Right. And I think just reminding each other, like, yeah, this happens. We're human. We're going to work through it. No judgment. This isn't attached to your identity. This isn't who you are. This isn't your destination. We're passing by in this human experience, and this is where we are right now, but we don't have to stay here. And there are so many things we can do to work through this, to move forward and upward. And I'm here to ride it with you, and we'll do this together. And I think more importantly, it's just knowing someone sees you, especially to that degree, be like, okay, I feel seen. I feel heard. I feel understood. Okay, now I can move forward. Because when you feel so isolated and so alone, that is where shame starts to thrive. That is where we start to have these overwhelming thoughts of, you're not enough, you're not going to make it, it's too exhausting, no one understands. It's hard to express and explain what's even going on, so I'm not even going to start. So having just someone there, like, I see you, I understand you, I got you, is so powerful. And that's where we become a safe space. And I think the more we can practice being a safe space, the more we're going to help alleviate some of this pressure and load that people feel so overwhelmed by, that all they can see is an end. They see them ending things because it's too much. So we can help lighten the load by doing those things.
I don't really have a whole lot of experience with suicide prevention, but I felt like I really could relate to what you were saying, because my first husband had a huge pornography addiction. It controlled like every aspect of his life, at work, like everything at home. And I remember going to some 12-step programs to get support for myself. And at first, I didn't really felt like I needed it until I went and I realized how much I needed it, how much I needed that community and that support and that love and not feeling so alone and helpless in such a big situation. So
Yeah,
can
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And when you were saying that, it's interesting because I've since my late husband passed away from suicide, we have our oldest daughter from she was 1.5 when he passed away, and I'm realizing that there are some OCD tendencies and anxieties that are coming to surface that I'm very hyper aware of since I didn't know what happened and why my late husband struggled the way he did. I mean, there was I had nothing. It was a complete surprise to me. And so with my daughter, I'm very like, okay, what do we need? How can I help? And we went to, have you ever heard of the OCD and Anxiety Treatment Center?
Mm-mm.
Amazing. It is all exposure therapy. And we both went in for intensive care. So it's like 4 hours a night for 11 to 12 weeks. Can't miss a day.
Wow.
Very intense. And I loved it so much because what it teaches is for you to stop avoiding and to start facing and breaking through whatever it is that is like holding you hostage. So, for instance, there's a 17-year-old kid I remember who could not walk through elevator doors. Couldn't walk through. And I remember, and this is it was so powerful to me because I remember he was sitting there crying, like head was just in his hands, just bawling and sitting 3 feet in front of an elevator door saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he knows it's possible. He sees people do this. He's like, I know this, but I don't know why I can't. I can't. And every day his guidance, his counselor would always say, okay, well, what are you willing to do today? And one time it was like a millimeter of a step. And she's like, you did a step. I'm so proud of you. You did what you could today. And it was like 6 weeks after that, I remember him walking through those doors with his head held so high and he just walked right through. It was amazing. It was so empowering. And I realized, so many times people think, why does God let bad things happen to us? Why does he not come in and take this away? Why doesn't he save me? And the reason is we would never have empowerment. We cannot gain empowerment by avoiding, by trying to go around. We only get it by going head first through, breaking through. And I think if we were to be saved constantly, I think we would be like, why did you keep saving me? I want that. I want empowerment. I want to be able to walk like that 17-year-old kid did. But I can't because I was always saved. So if we can remind ourselves that these hard moments, we're not being buried, we're being planted. We are having these amazing opportunities to break through something that was so scary and where we felt like it wasn't possible to go through. And actually, when we are able to go through, the empowerment and faith we establish in ourselves, no one can take that away. And you can't gain it any other way. And I'm so thankful for that. I'm not thankful for the things that happened. They don't happen for a reason. Nate didn't die. It wasn't on purpose, like for a reason. But I have gained empowerment from choosing to move forward. I've gained empowerment from choosing to go through the hard instead of around it or avoid it. And I am forever grateful that I chose that. It's amazing. I love that program and what it taught me. And that 17-year-old kid, he has no idea what it has done for me watching him in his journey. And I think when we can remember, like, our journey isn't our own. So many people are watching and can be inspired. If you can't do it for you, what about them? Can we do it for them? And sometimes that helps us. That could be just enough to give us the courage to go forward.
Absolutely. That reminded me of when I first started going to 12-step groups. And there was a woman there who was talking about her experience and how she had 2 different journals, and one was for all the hard and the betrayal trauma and all of that. And she was talking about how grateful she is to be where she's at, just like you expressed. And at first I thought, wow, she is crazy. Why is she grateful for going through betrayal trauma? Like all these different things going through my mind. And then I remember a few years later, after going through all of my experiences and realizing that I was now in her position and expressing how grateful I was to be where I'm at. And I wouldn't be where I'm at without going through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Life-changing.
Yes. I love that so much. And I think that's something that is hard, that some people are like, I know this happened for a reason. And it's like, no. Sometimes things don't happen for a reason, but whatever happens, we can make it work out for our good.
Yes.
That I believe 100%. And that is where I believe and know for myself, like, God really does make us better. And he loves broken things. When you think about everything on this planet that grows, it has to break first. Like plants, seeds, right? Like the seasons. It's incredible how symbolic it is of, like, there are things, like, there's purpose in our pain, and to remember that. And I think it's hard sometimes when you're in it to remember that, because it can be so hard
Yes.
and overwhelming.
I feel like
Yeah.
looking back on my life, I can see patterns of going through really hard things and breaking through and coming out on the other side, and knowing that feeling and that growth helps me for the next time that something is really, really hard that I'm going through. I'm like, okay, I can do this because I know what's on the other side of this. I know that there are huge blessings and huge opportunities. So,
I love
okay,
that.
God, help me through this so that I can get to that point, on the other side.
Yes.
Excuse me.
I love that so much. So many opportunities in our life. Absolutely. Help prepare us.
And welcome to Sunday School with Megan and Stephanie. Hallelujah. Right? Powerful. You're talking about breaking, and I'm just imagining, because I have a love for the soil and for my rancher agricultural roots, and we're big into organic gardening, and
All that.
always talk about seeds and seedlings. But honestly, Megan, I had never really gone down into the soil, like in my mind, and thought about that seed and the process. Often you think about the process, but we fast forward the process. In order for that seed to fulfill its divine programmed potential, it has to expand internally so much that it breaks. That's gotta hurt. Right? If there were neurons there, if there were pain receptors there, like just the pressure that it takes to break the shell, right?
Yeah. And those are hard shells. Yeah.
And that's us. That's us. Sometimes we have to have so much internal movement, right?
Yeah.
Growth, friction, expansion, that is all super uncomfortable. In fact, so hard that it breaks the shell. But when it breaks the shell, then that's when all the fun really starts to happen.
Right.
That's when
And that's when it really
upward
begins.
reach. That's when you start going to the
Yes.
light. That's when the beauty starts. That's when all the things that we associate downstream, but we don't think about, man, this sucks. This is hard. This is so hard. This is so painful that I feel like I'm going to break. And I just had this epiphany. That's exactly where we are when we're talking about suicide, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is so painful. I think I'm going to break.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I think we really believe like, okay, well, this is the end. And yet it can be a new beginning. And that's where you just have to hold on. We just got to hold on long enough, because so many times we think that's the end. This is the destination. And it's not. It's not. It is just the beginning. And when we think about the purpose of this life, it's for joy. But you can only have so much joy depending on how much sorrow
Mhm.
you have had. So the thing I love about, I can't remember who said it. There was this poet, but he talked about sorrow comes and sweeps away everything in the house so that there's room
Mm.
for good. And when we think about the sorrow in our hearts, it expands and it creates a void that feels like death. You feel dead inside. It is such a great void. But man, the room now that I have for joy because of the expansion of that sorrow is so profound and great. And because of that, I see my little girls dancing and twirling in the living room, and I can't help but get teary-eyed. It's magical. And I am just enveloped with such love and gratitude because of sorrow. I think if I didn't have that, I would overlook those moments. I mean, I would have appreciated them. It'd been cute. But to the depth that I see and really appreciate things and feel abundance is very profound and great because of sorrow.
Mhm.
And that's where I am grateful to have this human experience, to feel such depths and darkness, to where there's been so much more light and love because of it.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
I feel like that's what I went through when I chose divorce, and
Mm.
it was so incredibly painful, but I knew it was the right answer. And being a single mom for 6 years,
Yeah.
2 little kids, and I was so young. I was only 24 going through my divorce.
Oh, so
And
hard.
yeah, and not really feeling like many people around me understood, and I felt very judged. In fact, I even had a woman who was in our church and I thought was my friend. And she was
Oh, shoot.
made a very judgmental comment of, I hope you know what you're doing. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, divorce doesn't happen on a whim. Like, this has been a long process with Jesus trying to make sure that this is the right thing, especially with 2 children. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
I knew what I was
heavens.
stepping into to a degree, but I also knew that God and my Savior Jesus Christ were going to carry me and help me through it.
Yeah.
It definitely doesn't mean that the pain went away.
Absolutely.
There were actually moments that I felt the Savior's atonement take that pain away from me, and I was so grateful, and it's, forever impacted my life.
You know what? I love what you said. Like, you made this decision. You felt judged, and you felt like you were misunderstood, that you weren't seen. And I think so many of us feel that. And with my process of what, after what happened with Nate, I felt judged. Because I felt like I was the one that's supposed to have answers, and everyone's like, wait, what happened? How did this happen? It's like, I don't know, but I should know. Like, I don't know, but I should know. And then I felt like this shame and this responsibility, and then it makes me question, like, y- it it's so crazy how so many people around us can make us question what we're doing. And when it comes to like mindset and the reasons we do what we do, I think what really helps us to live our life is making sure we're always basing off our decisions of our values.
Mm.
Do you guys know Brene Brown? I'm sure you do.
Yes.
Okay. She's so big on like, what are your 3 values?
Mm.
And I remember when she asked me, I was like, I don't know. Because I was very like people pleasing and wanting to do like help people where I could and be that mom but also make sure that like the decisions I'm making for Brooklyn, like so and so is gonna approve. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, and the comments that my friend made, about like me and how I'm handling my kid, it's like, oh, maybe, am I gentle parenting? Like, am I a pushover? It's like, no, I'm not a pushover. Why did I let you convince me that I'm a pushover? I'm not this. And it's so interesting how what our values are can really help us to go through those phases of life. Like you said, you felt unseen, you felt judged. And I think when we have those strong values, it makes it so much easier to be like, okay, you can say whatever, but I'm good. I'm like, I'm doing the right thing. And you don't have to agree. And that's okay. But I feel so proud of myself for being in line with my values.
Mm-hmm.
And my young self, like I was 25 when my husband passed away, or 27, I'm sorry, 27. And being that young, it's you're still learning what your values are. And it's so hard to like navigate the judgments and the, whether people see you or not. And it just complicates things. It's so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I see you at your 24 young self. And it's those little things. It's like love from other people makes all the difference. Just that love and kindness. Why are we here thinking that we know better than these other people? Why do we think that? I don't get that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. Why can't we be curious?
Definitely. That experience, or I should say experiences going through that. My divorce took over a year. So there was a lot of being alone with God and Jesus while my children were gone at their dad's, and really trying to figure out who I was and what I wanted moving forward and how to navigate all of that. And it really grounded me. I know that there have been things that I've heard from therapists of don't date for at least a year. And I felt like God really helped me to take that because my divorce took over a year and really ground myself and figure out who I was, where I was going, which also helped me to navigate being a single mother, not just a mother, but being single out in the world again and
sure.
And oh my heavens.
Yes. Bless us all. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it really helped me to have those standards to find my husband now, who has been, the greatest blessing ever. We're actually going to celebrate our 10-year anniversary on Thursday.
This week,
Let's
baby.
go.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary. That's amazing.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
You were talking about because you went through the depths and how much joy you feel now, and the depth of that joy matches or exceeds the depth of the sorrow that was felt. And there were so many times being that single mom and being misunderstood or just not having the support emotionally that I was longing for, and needing to rely on my Savior and my Heavenly Father. But it led me to my spouse and our new blended family, and created that room for that joy. And I could tell you that I and we've discussed this before, so I can say the joy that we have felt is bigger and deeper than we've ever felt before we knew each other. Wow. And it's so beautiful, such a beautiful gift to be able to have that.
Oh, I love that. And so happy that you found that. That's so wonderful.
Thank you.
So happy. Yeah. Good for you.
Values. You're talking about you needed a year to find out who you were.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, what are my values? What are my values? Not our values as a couple.
Exactly. Yes.
What are my values as an individual, right? Megan, Brene Brown, I can imagine her just looking at you and saying, Megan, so what are your 3 values?
Yeah. And I love that question because I have to go back to them, and sometimes I change them here and there, right? But my first value is always do what's right over what's easy. And then my second one's family. And then my third one is meaningful work. And so when because I struggled with boundaries because I want to help everyone, and I grew up as a very competitive gymnast. And so it's like, if I'm not laying on the ground passed out, then I didn't quite do enough. And so it's just always like, well, I'm available, so that means I can. Yes, I'm good. Let's go. I can help you. Of course I can do that. And, so I never had these boundaries because then I'd become physically ill from not saying no or finding balance. So once I established these boundaries, it makes it easy, or not boundaries, sorry. Once I established the values, it helped create boundaries. Because now it's like, okay, is this what's right? Is this what's easy? Or is this good for my family? Or is this bad for my family? Or is this meaningful work? Or is this not quite important? Is there more important things for me to do? And so it really helps me to establish the boundaries, and it makes it a lot easier for me to say no because I'm aligning my decisions with my values. And I'm so grateful for that. Brene Brown, thank you so much, because it was a struggle. It was a big struggle until then. And even with work, like the world, how it works, so many times I think we have so much pressure of, I need to be more, and I should be, monetizing these opportunities, and I should be, and it just gets really heavy and loud and fast. And then it's like, no, like I'm like missing the bigger picture here. Like, is this meaningful? Do I feel fulfilled? If I feel fulfilled, I can give a heck of a lot more than if I don't.
Amen.
And that's where I have to, yes. So I have to keep pulling the reins back on, like, yes, this is fun and like cool, but I'm not super passionate about it. So I'm going to, retract a little bit and make sure I'm going in that direction, because that's where I'm passionate and that's where I feel fulfilled. And so, yeah, values help us in so many regards in direction. And I think based off of your values and your relationship with God, I think if you really live by those, you can't make a wrong decision. I think you will always be moving in the direction you're meant to go. And you won't be living life passively. It won't be happening to you. You'll be taking the reins of it and finding direction. So values are very, very important when it comes to knowing, like, how do I manage life? What are your values?
Absolutely. Especially when you have such a big heart, and you talk about wanting to say yes to everything and helping everybody.
Yes.
And, oh my goodness, it's so hard, especially when you see so many people struggling. And you're like, I know I could help them all. At the same time, is that going to take away from you and deplete you and your family?
Right.
It's very important.
Yes, it is. And good, like, what are they called? Like checks, like checkpoints to be like, oh yeah, what am I doing? Go back. Like, I'll get my direction again. I'm going off the path.
Definitely.
Yes, all those things.
Course correct.
Yes. Thank you. That's the word. Course correction. Thank you. There it is.
Well, your value, I love what you said. Your values help you determine your boundaries. If your focus is on the moment and whatever stimulus is coming at you, request, feeling, emotion, right? Experience, whatever's happening in your environment, you will always be blown around by your own emotions, by somebody else's, requests or emotions, and your values define your path. They help you intensify that so that you can focus on your work, right? Like, this is so crazy. Like, I've thought a lot about values, but when you said that, the Brene Brown's question, I thought, gee whiz, do I have that? Well, I know I have values. Otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, of course.
I started thinking, today, right now, like based on my experience, like what is important to me? And as soon as you start thinking about that, you're able to say no to the things that are outside of your concern and able to say yes to your mission, right? To the things that are really important.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah.
It's the old Greek adage, know thyself. But when you don't know yourself, when you don't know what your values are, then you might just wake up one day and not know who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and you think about, we live in such an impulsive generation. And when we do have our values established, we will show up for our future self every time.
Mm.
You are going to be basing decisions off of like, this is who I am. This is the direction. This is the person I choose to be. And I'm going to practice showing up as this person. I may fall short sometimes, but this is the ultimate goal. And knowing that that's eventually what you want to be, you're going to continue to practice and show up as that person. And I think that is one of the most enlightening things that I've learned is, wow, values are huge. Huge. And it's one thing, we have values, but when we don't have like real, like the top 3, when she said name top, like, only 3, what are your top 3? I thought, I don't shoot. That's hard. Like 5?
Yeah.
How about 5?
Give me 5 or 10. I'll just start listing all of the things that I learned in Sunday school, right?
100%, like just give me 5, but like 3? Whoa. Because it really, really fine tunes what is most important, like good, better, best. What is best? And what is going to help you to fulfill your mission, your purpose, what you're passionate about, and what's going to help you to show up as that person and help you to do those things.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that I have absolutely loved and wish everyone knew is just know your 3 values, because when you're out of the alignment of those 3 values, you're going to feel different. Like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do better because I am going to do what's right, not what's easy. Today I did what was easy, not tomorrow. I'm going to show up as like, I'm going to do what is right, no matter how hard it is. And, whatever it may be. But I think that gives us so much direction and almost like a little, like a ladder to keep climbing. Because each day with these values, we kind of keep checking, like, am I in alignment or am I off? No, I'm off. Okay, I'm getting back on. So I just think that's so impactful and such a huge help.
There's a quote that I heard years ago, and I think it really helped me to realize more of my value. And it was not necessarily who am I, but whose am I?
I love that so much.
Yeah. Really.
So much. And when you said that, so that reminds me. So again, with losing Nate and even my dad to pancreatic cancer the year before, there's been so much sorrow and yet so much awakening, because we are spiritual beings. And these moments are moments. And I think it's Elder Uchtdorf, but he talks about how there are no true endings, only everlasting beginnings. And that gives me so much hope for me in my natural man, the inner animal, that I fail time and time again and fall short. And it's like there are always new beginnings. I get to try again tomorrow. And even at the end of my life, once I've done everything I can, like, this isn't it. There's only everlasting beginnings. And what a hopeful concept to cling to in those moments that feel like there's nothing but endings. And I'm so grateful for that. And I have felt that in my life. Like they're really, it's not over. They've now graduated life and they're starting that next phase. And it's hard, but really neat to think of. in that regard. Yeah.
Definitely gives me comfort thinking of it in that regard.
Yeah.
When I was going through my divorce, my grandmother was dying of ovarian cancer. And
sorry.
it really, and then, 13, 14 years later, my grandfather passed away. And I was really, really close to him because, I lost my spouse at the same time he lost his spouse. And it really bonded us. And he did say, which did give me a little bit of validation of what I was going through. He said, I would much rather be in my position than yours because at least I know where my spouse is. He knew his spouse was in heaven with Jesus and God, and that one day he would be reunited with her. He never dated again, which I was shocked.
Cute. Oh my gosh, so cute. Oh my goodness.
But it was just very comforting, especially since he passed. Also, just knowing that they're on the other side, working on things and helping to support me in my mission in life and my family, and just knowing that it wasn't the end, that I would see him again, even though I miss him, I will still see him.
Of course, right? It's like, man, they're in a building I can't get access to. Yeah, but I will one day. Yes. One day.
Definitely.
Oh, that is so amazing. I love that.
Strategic pause. All right. Everybody who's listening, watching right now. All right. This is your invitation from Megan, Stephanie, Seth, and Brene Brown. What are your three top values? Okay. Take 5 minutes, right? It's not this is not your final answer. Right. And you're not graded on this. Nobody's grading you. But what are your three top values important to you right now that you want to continue to base your life on? And write them down for yourself. And we would love, love, love if you would share them with us. Promise that if you email us, when you email us, we will respond with wherever we are with our three right now. I wrote down three that are really important to me right now, and I'm like mulling over my head. I got all this creativity going. But let us know at the Forever Young Show at gmail.com, the Forever Young Show at gmail.com. Let us know what are your top three values. We would love to support and validate and champion that with you.
Are you going to share yours now?
Are you going to share yours? I know you've been talking.
I've been talking. I've thought a little bit about it. I think I'm super in alignment with what Megan said, her top three. But other than that, I haven't, You
haven't had your own personal time to evaluate, right? Like,
yeah.
So here's what came to my mind right now as I thought a few things. Number one, longevity. Longevity. Okay. You're like, well, how's that? Longevity is a value that causes me to say, what am I doing today that is going to live on? You talk about everlasting beginnings, right? And continuings. And as I look back in my life, I'm like, yeah, this has been important to me. If we look at a business aspect, I don't want to just simply work so that I can feed myself today. How can I create something of value that's going to have longevity? That's going to have legs to run. That's a long term, right? Mm-hmm. We having been divorced and essentially, lost real depth and intimacy with multiple of my children, right? Which just is so hard as a dad, right?
Yeah. For
years, I've been saying I'm playing the long game. One day. We're going to be playing together again. One day we're going to be talking and exchanging and laughing. That's longevity, right? Like I'm in for longevity. So that's number one. Okay. And awesome. Me and Steph, of course, we're on 10 years. We're really working on our first 1,000. Like for us, it's like,
I love it.
Eternity is a long time. Can we just put the first, you heard about that 7-year itch. No. Let's put down the first 1,000 years and then we can evaluate. Okay.
Love that.
Number two, creativity. Like just this idea that creativity means that we are creators, So I want to be in creator phase as opposed to, I want to live in creator phase as opposed to being satisfied with consumer phase.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Love that.
Yeah.
Right. But creativity also being that concept and that value where like anything's possible. Like it's faith. If we're going to put the spiritual word in creativity, it is faith. Right. But I love that word creativity so much.
Love it. Yeah.
And then the last word is valor. And, because for me, like years ago, I went to a seminar, very small, intimate seminar. Actually, I took my kids to a youth seminar and stuck around because I'm just a big kid. And,
as we all should be.
And
I love it. Yes.
And the speaker, was talking about what's your mission in life, right? Kind of aligning your values. What's important to you? And basically threw out 7 missions. Like, are you here to heal the world or heal the sick, clothe the naked, feed the hungry, right? And then he went on, and I don't remember them all off the top of my head, but, teach the truth, right? You have some people who are just like they're teachers. And I think of Todd Simmons, right? Like that dude is a teacher.
He is.
Right?
I think of you.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. I love that.
I feel like I should button up my collar. No, I'm going to be creative. I'm just going to let it all hang loose.
Nice.
No, but one of those was to liberate the captive. And so he went through all of these and he had a little, dialogue. As I was thinking about those, like what was the number one thing? Like clothing the naked and feeding the poor. Those are all important things to me. I recognize them. Again, tell me all the value. Well, they're all important, right?
I know.
Listen, your mission, can your mission be to be all of them today? No, probably not this season, right? I mean, we're involved in the health world and like we're healing the sick. Like I get that. I feel that as part of who I am, but I will tell you that day and what he did during this seminar was consider where does your heart draw you? And maybe that's what I would suggest for everybody who's listening or watching when you're thinking about these values. Where does your heart draw you? Not just your head, right? What should I be, right? What do you feel drawn to innately in your soul, in your heart? And I will tell you, when he said, liberate the captive, and he had you stand up basically when, or raise your hand, like that was me. That's what I want to do. I want to liberate the captive, right?
I love that.
And so where does valor come in? Valor is the courage. Valor is, I don't want to say that stoicness, but it's that courage, it's that, that honor concept.
I love that courage.
But it's really the child of compassion. Why would you be out to liberate the captive? Is it simply to put a medal on? Is it to have a Purple Heart, right? Or the Silver Cross, right? Is it so that, you can stand over all the other gladiators, right? With your bloody sword. Sorry.
Right. Though.
Right. To say that you won. No, it's who you were fighting for. You're thinking about it. So anyway, valor for me is the combination, or it's the child of courage and strength with compassion, right? So anyway.
I love that. Like what you said, just that last part, because it's like you really, when you pay attention to our intentions, that is where I think you really become like reborn in that sense of purpose. And I don't think enough people are paying attention to their intentions. And so I love what you said. It's like valor. It's not about a medal. It's about serving. It's about helping the needy, right? I think that's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah. Wow. I have a lot to think about.
Don't we all? Don't we all?
Yes. one thing I love about doing these podcasts. You know, it's not just for our community and our audience. It's really changing me, to be quite
Oh,
honest.
I love that. I love that so much. We all need each other. That's what it's about, right?
Yes.
No one can do this alone. Like I said, I'm here because of all the amazing people I have encountered in my life, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yep. We're all just
Yes.
helping walk each other home.
Yep.
That's what it
Yep.
is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have like 10 questions. So we sent you a list of 30 questions, right? And some, you probably looked at it, you're like, okay.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know which ones, but
like,
we'll just pick.
right.
It's good. It's great.
Things. And you know what? This is just how it works. It's awesome. It's awesome, right? So much value here. Question I wanted to ask Megan is, and this is not even one of the questions, right?
I love it. Hit me.
Jumping back to this concept, this theme today of understanding where other people are, right? Suicide prevention. What can we do? Like, what are practical tips? I know sitting in those seminars years ago, they were able to at least, number one, quell my concern that if we talk about it, it's going to happen or we're going to make it worse, right? Okay. That's, we dispelled that, cut that off the legs. Practically, what can I do? Like, what could I say? What's one thing that I could say? You said one of those today, which was, do you have a plan? Right? So important.
Yep.
What are practical, either mindset, but really what are something practical we can do and implement to help us get out of ignorance and fear when we just want to help, somebody in our life to understand them better. Right.
Yes. And I love that so much. And sometimes we feel like we have to have the answers when someone approaches us with something so heavy and hard like that. It's like, well, you need to be grateful. Like you have so much, there's so much good. Like, what do you mean? Like, look at this, like you got this going for you, which are us, trying to do the right thing. But what really makes a difference is allowing this person, whoever they are, if they're coming to you, I think one of the biggest things we can do is say, thank you so much for talking to me about this, for trusting me with this, and help them understand that it's okay that we feel. We can't always help what we feel. If you feel stuck, there's things we can do to help. And that's where like calling or texting 988 are, great options depending on how dire the circumstance is. But I think the most important thing we can do is listen without judgment and be careful with how we react. I know some people, again, because it's uncomfortable. We need to be okay with being uncomfortable. We need to be okay with, okay, we're going to sit in this for a minute. Oh, man, this is really hard. So tell me more. What's up? What's going on? Because think about when you had, Stephanie, when you were at church and your friend who you thought was a friend came to you and they said, have you really thought about this? What would have happened if she showed up and said, wow, I can tell this is really hard. How you doing? Tell me more. What's up? And you'd be like, right? It would be like
emotional right now, just thinking if somebody showed up that way. Like,
yes, just to validate and help people know, thank you for taking the chance to see me and not this thing I'm bringing to the table. Like you're seeing me, not this. And I think the more we can keep looking past what people are going through, their behavior, and we can push that aside and say, I still see you. This must be really heavy to carry. This is really hard. And validate them without telling them like, oh, these are all good things. We don't need to let them know and approve these things that they're doing, but we can accept and approval are two very different things. And I think when we can accept someone with where they are and help them to know, man, you are in a really hard phase of this human life right now. Like no one's immune to this. And the good news is you don't have to do this alone. I got you. And How many times do we feel like I can do this just by someone saying, I'm here for you. I got you. And even if they don't do anything, the fact that you know, like, okay, there is someone that has my back. I can do this. Okay. I can do this. That is the most important thing we can do, is be that sounding board. Be grateful that they came to you to share something so vulnerable and scary and hard, and know that you will be there for them. Help them to know, I got you. Those are the biggest things we can do. We don't have to have the answers. We don't have to have all the protocols, the grounding exercises, we don't have to do that. That's like, and it's not our job to save, right? It's our job to love. It's our job to help comfort those in need of comfort, mourn with those who are mourning. Like, those are the things that we need to do. We don't have to fix. And again, like, if we are in a point where it's scaling fast and it's scary, then we can call 988 or text 988, and we can be on the phone while this person's with us and say, okay, my friend is really struggling. I don't know how to help. What can I do? But they don't want to be alone, but they don't want to be on the phone. So I'm like the mediator. Totally fine. So just show up. Be supportive. Be curious. Do not be judgmental. And make sure that you help them know, like, I see you. And I got you. I'll help you with anything that you need help with that I can do. And it's as simple as that. And I think everyone can do that.
Well, you're not there to fix the problem. Like, you don't have to be the therapist. Like, you don't have to. You're not trained. But so
I think too many people think that
988 is the suicide prevention hotline, correct?
Yes. Yep. And you can text or call, which is nice, because some people who are really struggling can't call, so they'll text, and that's great. If that's an option that's best for you, do it. It's really, really good. And they help with like grounding exercises, or help you know where to go, or they're awesome.
Wonderful. So what are the signs to look for that someone is struggling?
So dissociation is kind of a big one, like just out of character. Sometimes they can be struggling, and you can tell that they're a little low. They're isolating themselves. They're not as happy as they used to be. They're starting to say things like, well, it won't matter for much longer anyway. Or it just doesn't matter now. And they're not fulfilling responsibilities that they typically would. They avoid eye contact, and almost like they look like they're numb, like they can't feel. And then sometimes it's like you'll see a spike, like they'll be numb and kind of sad and withdrawn. And then like one day they'll be like really great. And that's something to really look for. And just say, well, okay, what's going on? And to remember, it's not like, oh, good, now everything's fine. Whew, you're good. I think that's another really scary sign that's really easily overlooked, because it's very out of character. Like, okay, all of a sudden you're like really good. Okay. We need to ask, like, make eye contact, ask like, are you okay? And like really try to see them and take that time to sit with them, because sometimes they'll be able to say like, no, I'm not, and then totally break down, because sometimes they're really happy after that long period of fatigue. That's when they've made a decision. They have their plan and they're ready. So if we can be mindful of like, oh, it's not that they're okay, it might be because there's a plan, then, that's another really big sign.
Yeah, because they see that end in sight.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep. And of course, like anything that's out of the ordinary of like, hey, you meant the world to me. I want you to know I love you. If it's like anything out of the blue, always, that is a big red flag. Big red flag. Yeah. Those are some of the big ones that like really stand out, that I like, and I tend to overlook. Like with my husband, it was always, I'm just so tired. And he would be sleeping through the whole night and still be so exhausted. And I think if your loved one, or if it's you and you're sleeping through the whole night and you wake up so exhausted like that, you need to treat that and get help, because everything after that's going to be much harder and difficult to manage and navigate. So with him, I think it was just he couldn't articulate what it is he felt. And I feel like he was scared to tell me because he believed all I deserved was happiness. So I shouldn't hear anything sad. So yeah, just like remember, healthy relationships are the happy and the sad ones. The ones that include both. If it's only happy, then that's not healthy. And my sweet Nate, I mean, he was doing the best that he could and really believed that. And I love him forever. And I just wish he understood that being sad is human. We're supposed to feel all those things and it's okay. So yeah.
I feel like that's one reason why I try to be vulnerable with people and share my experiences, because I feel like when you do that, it invites other people to be vulnerable in their pain and their joys, like in everything. And it helps to create that connection and community and support.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really big. Yeah.
So I have another question.
Okay.
So you're remarried.
Yes.
How is that going?
Really good and hard. All the good things.
I was waiting for that.
Right? Yeah. It's marriage. It's life.
Yes. Well, but what's really hard is my super handsome husband, who, bless his heart, he wasn't married before. And so this was like his first like real big commitment with like me and my baby.
Yeah.
And we met when my daughter was 4. And so here's this guy who's lived this life 35 years of doing his thing and then adding us. So my sweet husband, bless his heart, was like thrown into like a typhoon, waters, trying to swim, and it's hard. And he's been doing really good. I'm like so proud of him because I know that this has been such a huge transition. And then my trauma on top of it, like there's days where I'm like, I'm sorry, I am struggling. I need you to just figure life out for us right now. I need to go take care of myself. And he's like, what? Okay. Okay, here we go. So he's just thrown in and he's doing such a great job. And I'm so proud of him. And of course, he has all of these tendencies, that natural animal inside of all of us that, struggle to do what's right over what's easy. And he's been stepping up every time. And I'm so, so thankful for that. Constantly learning and growing together. And he's very open and transparent, sometimes almost too transparent, because that's the thing I really appreciated, because he is. And so I'm like, that's great. That was too much. Like, reel it in a little. That was great. But I love it and I appreciate it, especially because my sweet, Nate, who struggled to let me in. I love that Kim lets me in. And yeah, it's been really good. I'm grateful. He's amazing.
Love the transparency, but that was a little too much transparency. Let's get that in. Can we microdose that? Can we microdose that, please?
I can see you saying that to me.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So funny. Best.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, us blending a family, Seth did have prior experience to adoption, marrying a single mom. That was his first wife. And then, having some together and then stepping in and taking my 2 on as his own. And then having 2 together. So it's definitely been a beautiful mess.
Beautiful chaos, I think.
Beautiful chaos. That's what I said. Yes. Beautiful chaos.
I love that. And I wish men got more credit. The ones who jump in to the families to take them on as their own.
Absolutely.
I wish there was more credit for that because it's pretty and it's amazing.
Yes. Yes. And women. I feel like
Amen. Yes. Amen.
women get the oh my goodness, what
The
am I
wicked
trying to say?
stepmother.
Yes.
Yes.
We get dubbed as the wicked stepmother, and always being like, oh, how is it? And
Yes.
anyways, it is one of the hardest. In fact, our children's one of their therapists said that the hardest role in a blended family is being the bonus mom.
Oh, I believe it.
Agreed.
I believe it 100%. Bless all the moms out there that are the bonus mom. You're amazing. Holy moly.
It is so hard, and at the same time, so rewarding. So
incredible. Oh, you guys are incredible. So awesome.
We didn't ask, where can our community find her if they would like to reach out to her for resources or anything?
Awesome. Yeah, just on my Instagram, on like Hands to Stand is my big one, and then just Gmail, Hands to Stand at Gmail.
Right.
Perfect.
Tell a lot about a person by their email address. Right.
Happy toes. I love that.
That's right. Right.
And then I broke one right after.
Happy toes except one at gmail.com.
Exactly.
It's just happy toes 1, 2, not the 3.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
Well, Megan, as an aside, one thing that we're also doing is creating a community of amazing women that we work with, like that we collaborate with. And thank you for allowing us to collaborate and produce an episode.
Absolutely. Vice versa. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yes. And cut. It's a wrap.
Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you for sharing this episode with that one friend who needs this conversation. Thank you for all the ratings, the reviews, the comments, and especially the support. We so appreciate you.
Now, if you want to take a peek behind the curtain and be the first to know about special previews, backstage updates here at the show, and especially some private collection content that doesn't come out in the regular show,
be sure to join our VIP community at theforeveryoungshow.com.